ASEAN Dailies. First and foremost news from Southeast Asia. Good morning and welcome to Durian ASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing. And you are with Grace this morning. And today is Friday. What is your plan for Friday today? And it's finally just 2 days before the weekend. However, we still deliver the news from Southeast Asia as well as from Malaysia as well. So we have just an update from what happened in South Korea yesterday, and then it seems that within the country it's a big news because it was the relationship between the United States and South Korea. So just to give you the brief explanation on the incident yesterday, was the U.S. ambassador to South Korea, his name is Mark Lippert, was injured in an attack by blade-wielding assailant on Thursday in Seoul. And then there are so many pictures have been uploaded, and then this is apparently one of the viral pictures that has been going around. And what's happening was there was some witnesses, and also they could get information from the police sources, said this man who actually committed this crime with the blade concealed in his right hand attacked Lippert as he was attending the breakfast function at the Sejong Cultural Institute in central Seoul. And also there are video footage that was taken immediately during the attack. So definitely it's an alarm to South Korea, and the President Park Geun-hye was expressing her concerns and her apologies towards this attack to the USA ambassador. Well, just to explain about the relationship between the USA and the South Korea, they have been building and also been very careful when it comes to relationship, because no matter what, South Korea is still depending on the USA economic and also the helping hands. And everybody knows about what happened, or even the tension between the North Korea and South Korea. And because of that, even more, South Korea has been depending more and getting a lot of help from USA itself. And the President Obama, after this news was released, he said, "We can confirm that the U.S. ambassador to the Republic of Korea, Mark Lippert, was assaulted Thursday morning in Seoul while giving a speech." And also they said this has to be condemned of violence. The ambassador is being treated at the local hospital, and then luckily his injuries are not so severe to threatening the life. But Embassy Seoul is coordinating with local law enforcement authorities. And South Korean President Park Geun-hye condemned its intolerable assault on the U.S. envoy. And in addition, she also added by saying that it's such an detrimental attack on the South Korea and also U.S. military alliance. And Park Geun-hye, the president of Korea, who is currently on the tour of Gulf states, vowed a thorough investigation, while the foreign minister said it would beef up security for foreign envoys. And right after the attack, the man was arrested, and he was apparently involved deeply politically before, and he still has this grudge against the South Korea and also the other countries. And well, while he was being arrested, he actually shouted a few phrases just to express himself, the frustration against the oldest historical stories, such as he had the organization that regularly organizes protests against Japanese territorial claims, and also he has this blog on which he wrote of his opposition to the joint U.S.-South Korea drills, expressing that they were blocking the resumption of dialogue between North and South Korea. He is strongly supporting the unification between South Korea and North Korea. So from here on, definitely the security forces will be strengthened, and this kind of attack is not new. It happened quite a long time ago, but that is definitely this was the sudden attack, and that this has brought such a big news to this country. Well, moving on to the next news is about Malaysians that are involved in the ISIS. Well, it's not so a surprising news, or I will say a new news among Southeast Asia or in our nation, in Malaysia. However, the question here is, why are young people so easily influenced by such group? And perhaps we need to do some analysis on this because well, it is the first time here that police have confirmed the presence of Malaysians during ISIS killing in Syria. However, the influence of ISIS over Southeast Asia countries are not the first time. And apparently, the two Malaysians seen in the video have been identified as 20-year-old and also 25-year-old. The names are stated as Faris Anwar from Gurun in Kedah, and the other one person is Muhammad Wandi Muhammad Jadi from Durian Tunggal in Malacca. So these both men are believed to be part of the new wing of Malaysians and Indonesian militants identified as Majmua and Akabili. And this is something that the nation has to be need to be concerned about all these issues regarding ISIS for sure. Because they have about 100 members and apparently, it is still being identified, the number of Malaysians in the group. And also, police knew of 61 Malaysians in Syria. 10 of them, apparently they are women. And the youngest was 14-year-old boy who followed his parents there. So, it can be also said that some people are just blindly following their parents. Okay, it could be very close friends who have been influenced by this militant group and just by the word of mouth, perhaps because of the benefits or advantages they can get from this, or by the name of the religion itself. And around 30 Malaysians were detected in Syria before. It was around in June, and the number of had since apparently it has been rising to 61, which is just double the amount. This is very worrisome because the fighters from both countries are in the complex of flats there, and it's also believed that their families are there too as well. They're concerned that this particular group would likely attack more fighters from these two countries, which are Malaysian and also Indonesian as well. The militants who speak the common language there will definitely bond together. In Afghanistan, Singaporeans and Filipinos formed a similar pact. So it's also because of the language barrier or the common language that they have. They formed a stronger force and a stronger group in this particular group. But this is very worrisome because it looks like they almost created such as like mini Malaysia or Indonesia in that country. And apparently they can cook food from their home countries and then they bring them over. So this particular region in Rakha, it was believed that there will be around 50 Malaysian families, although they are not all the members of military fighting unit, but those people are residing there, and militants who speak the common language, like I mentioned before, they will bond together, and if they come with their families, their family members will be placed in the flats while the men went for the training, and then even the boys will be sent for training session as well. So what is the government doing? What is this Indonesian government and also Malaysian government been doing towards this movement, I will say, or such as the being sent to Afghanistan or Syria and be part of the Islamic group? Well, Malaysia and Indonesia,
they are one of the largest having the Muslim community around the world, and most likely they will be influenced religiously by this Islamic militant group. However, where is this proper education, proper information, and then how about the protection from this militant group? Because Malaysia is just being in the beheading videos, and the photos are released on social media, and that brings a lot of concerns among their own families and their friends in Malaysia. What can we do? What can government do towards this movement? And definitely, this is showing the depth of their cruelty, and it is clear not the rightful jihad ISIS claimed it to be. And definitely, by releasing all these videos and the photo, or even the footages of all those clips, it is a clear indication of the involvement of the Malaysians in slaughter of the innocent people. So hope that we really hope that something has to be done. Perhaps it is almost impossible to not send these people to Middle Eastern countries, Syria or even Afghanistan, but at least something has to be done. Not being involved in such a to kill the innocent people. At least let them know what they are doing, and then what are they actually doing for. So we're going to take a very short break, and when we come back, perhaps we'll talk about the Michelle Obama's visiting Southeast Asia.
ASEAN Dailies. First and foremost news from Southeast Asia. Welcome back to Durian ASEAN, and you're with Grace. And we just talked about why is Michelle Obama visiting Asia. So there are a lot of questions have been risen regarding this visiting from Michelle Obama to Asia, specifically Cambodia and Japan. And on March 20, around in like a few weeks time from here, so it'll be around the 21st and 22nd, and also a few days before that, she'll be visiting Japan and Cambodia. And this will be the one of the first time that she's visiting around Southeast Asia. But why? Why Japan and Cambodia specifically? And some had said that this will be a spring break with her daughters, while others sensed the more elaborated plot by perhaps it's the Obama administrations to make up for the perceived slight following her absence in Obama's trip to Japan last year, because she was not there with Obama. And also White House statement apparently they said the First Lady's trip will be focused on promoting the new Let Girls Learn International Girls Education Initiatives. And the object of this is to help adolescent girls worldwide attend and complete schools and pursue their broader aspirations as well as their dreams. And why Japan? The question is, Japan is such a developed country, and when it comes to education, it is also people are pretty much being treated fairly there in the nation. However, if you look into deeper, when it comes to getting jobs, or even after the couples are married, women tend to stay at home, become housewives. The culture there is still strong, and then the woman right there is not as strong as the other countries, the surrounding countries. So it is perhaps necessary from Michelle Obama's perspectives that girls need to be educated and to be able to have equal treat and also right to have the job opportunities in Japan as well. So, like it is mentioned before, her first trip in Southeast Asia and Japan and Cambodia is to focus more on the international girls' education. And these initiatives, which was officially launched by Michelle Obama and also U.S. President Barack Obama on March 3rd, it is to coincide
coincide with the beginning of Women's History Month, and it will be right after, or perhaps just a week after the International Women's Day. And it is a government-wide approach to empower girls around the world, bringing together existing effort by several organizations, including the U.S. Agency for International Development and the Millennium Challenge Corporation and the Peace Corps. So she will be joined on the trip by Peace Corps Director Carrie Hessler Redelit. So we just shortly mentioned about these objectives for Let Girls Learn project. And according to the White House, just to give a more background of this, the initiatives, there are around 62 million girls around the world, and half of them they are adolescents, and they are not in school, which diminishes their economic opportunities and also increase their vulnerability to HIV or AIDS, early and forced marriage and forms of violence. So this, I will say this is more like a crime and uneducated behavior that could have rooted in the country, especially Cambodia. But with the quality that they will receiving in the education, girls will be more likely to earn a better living, raise a healthy, educated family, improve the quality of life for themselves and also their community, and help to build the foundations for more stable, democratic countries. So as President Obama said in his speech, this is not just humanitarian issues, but it is political and security issues. That's why it needs to be a foreign policy priority. And these two countries, particularly Japan and Cambodia, they both are seen as very important countries in furthering Let Girls Learn project. These two visits are pretty prominent, and in Japan she'll be from March 18 to 20th. So according to Michelle Obama, she said her remarks that she'll be meeting the wife of Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, who is Aki Abe, who she says that share her passions and are eager to be a partner in the initiatives. And she will also meet the current U.S. Ambassador, Caroline Kennedy, who is the former of U.S. President John F. Kennedy. And in Cambodia, she'll be there from March 21st and 22nd, and it's the only Asian nation among the 11 currently involved in the Let Girls Learn Peace Corps initiatives in the first year. So she'll be the first sitting U.S. First Lady to ever visit the country, of course following Obama, who became the first sitting U.S. President to visit Cambodia during his trip, which was in 2012. So this good initiatives hopefully can improve and also help in furthering the education among girls in general. And moving on to the next news, we'll travel to China. China said in 2015 they plan to raise its military spend to around 886.9 billion yuan, according to the budget report to be submitted to the annual session of National People Congress. And at the same time, this country plans to lower growth target to about 7%. So, analysts believe that China's actual military spending is pretty significantly higher than the publicized. And with the Pentagon estimating it at between US dollar around $135 billion and also 215 the US dollar in 2012. So it is much lower than a couple of years ago. And Beijing maintains that its military, it's actually the world's largest. It's aimed at securing peace rather than engaging in disputes with its neighbors over territory in East and South China Seas issues. And apparently China has been involved in occasionally these tense confrontations with Japan and also Philippines over maritime disputes, generating fears that disputes could result in armed clashes. So there we go. The China is lowering their budget, and also perhaps the economy, it will be the challenges to the Chinese economy, including this investment growth, overcapacity, and also deflationary pressure and increasing public demand for better social services. So we'll see how the plans are executed, and apparently the China's target illustrated is trying to strike as it encourages reform while trying to sustain the growth. The government said it will increase the deficit spending, lower targeted trade, and fix the asset investment growth, and also to increase the money supply if needed. At the same time, it was also said that it will loosen the price controls, especially on the pharmaceutical and energy, and also to push restructure and bloated state-owned enterprises. So in terms of the Chinese economical growth, we'll see how this plan are going about. And because the last year's increase was around 12.2%, with this a bit lower budget growth at this year, there will be definitely lower expectation in terms of economic growth. But definitely the government is doing something towards the certain areas to be able to achieve their targets for sure. So we'll take another short break, and then when we be back, we'll talk about more news from Southeast Asia.
ASEAN Dailies. First and foremost news from Southeast Asia. Welcome back to Durian ASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing, and you are at the last segment of ASEAN Dailies. So this news is just uploaded this morning about Singapore to cane these two Germans for graffiti in on train, and they are being arrested and into 9 months in prison. And the three struck of the cane in Singapore for breaking into a depot and spraying painting graffitis on the commuter train. So these two people, their names are Andreas, who is 22, and the other one is Elton Hintz, who is 21, who had pleaded guilty, expressed remorse while being sentenced on a few days ago, Thursday, as right groups criticize the country's judicial system. And it's apparently the Singapore judicial system is shameful recourse to using torture in the form of caning and to punish crimes that should be just to indicate of the blatant disregarded for international human rights standard. And these two people there are who are accused of vandalism or trespass after they broke into one of the Singapore's train depot. And it was just last November. And these two men then fled to Singapore, then only to be tracked down in the neighboring Malaysia in an international manhunt, and then brought back to the city-state of a phase trial. So there are quite a few people who does vandalism to certain countries. It could be public transportation. It could be just any public use that they will not realize that it's a sort of a criminal behavior. And in fact, in the 2012, the local artist Samantha Low was arrested for placing humorous stickers on the traffic light poles and also spray painting road signs and triggering an outcry and a heated debate on the vandalism laws. So when it comes to artists or any forms of art, painting or doing even the sculptures, they tend to send messages via all those pieces, and those pieces are pretty
much influential to younger generations, and sometimes the government do come up with a strict punishment or strict treatment to those behaviors as well. Well, moving on to another news from the Philippines. More than 40,000 people from 8 towns have fled their homes to escape the fighting that has been happening for some time. The fight is between the government troops and then also the rebel Bangsamoro Islamic Freedom Fighters, or BIFF. And the government region in the Muslim Mindanao, or armed, said that many of them had sought refuge in the government evacuation centers. And in fact, this organization has launched the humanitarian mission to bring food, medicines, and also other forms of assistance to these refugees in towns of Masa Satpamu, and the other towns also are affected by this fighting. That was included the Sheriff Saidona, Datu Onsay, Sheriff Angkuk. So these are the people who were there to see the site of this bloody encounter, in which these 44 police special action force commanders were killed last January 25th. And these innocent people who were just been there in the victims of the fight scenes was also disrupt the classes in the public schools in the area. At least around 16,000 elementary and high school students were affected. So these people have been fleeing from their own homes just to find another place to stay because of this particular fight. And one of the educators said, I directed the education secretary and also the other parts, and it's really sad to see all the students fleeing away from their home education. And definitely this state government and as well as the government needs to do something to provide them the comfort and also to support their home. And just a little bit of news on the ASEAN is that all foreign registered buses need to have an ASEAN Public Service Vehicle, or PSV, permit issued by the Singapore Land Transport Authority to enter the city-state. And around for tour buses, there is an additional requirement that have to be conveying to in the identified group of passengers who commence their journey from ASEAN member countries, not Singapore. So this is something that it is called the ASEAN Public Service. And the minister was asked actually whether the Ministry of Transport was aware of this feedback on increasing the instances of Malaysian registered vehicles illegally picking up and or guiding passengers and the tourists on local tours in Singapore to Malaysia. And the minister actually disclosed that this had received 7 cases of feedback in the last 2 years on Malaysia registered vehicles picking up the passengers in Singapore, and also had investigated accordingly. But though no transgressions were detected, in fact. So this has been ongoing, but then for foreign registered buses applying scheduled services, this license is required on top of the ASEAN permit for them to enter Singapore and to pick up the passengers at a designated stopping points within Singapore. So that's it for the Friday Daily News. And we do have our social channels, so please, you're always welcome to leave your feedbacks on our Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We have the podcast that will be uploaded later on, and also as well as Instagram. But before that, don't forget to visit our website at www.adrianasean.com, and we'll be back next week to bring more news from Southeast Asia. And have a good Friday.